Warning! Kinda Murdery contains adult themes, explicit language, and descriptions of violence. It is not suitable for anyone, and we recommend you stop listening now.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Kinda Murdery, a true crime podcast that's mostly about murder, and always about the strange and compelling stories that arise when the path less traveled twists to darkness, and those who walk its shadows surrender to violence and moral corruption. We have a perilous journey ahead, so thank you for lending me your courage and good company. I'm your host Zevin Odelberg, and this is Kinda Murdery. In a few short moments, I'll be sharing the first of what I hope will be many listener stories from the Kinda Murdery hotline. If you've got a Kinda Murdery story to tell me, please call 888-MURDERY. That's 888-687-3379 or 888-MURDER, the letter Y. Please do call the Kinda Murdery hotline and share your Kinda Murdery story so that I can share it with the community. Alright, the story you're about to hear comes to us via Taylor from Durham, North Carolina. Taylor, we're so happy to have you on the show.
Hi, this is Taylor. I am in Durham, North Carolina. I don't know if this is kind of murdery, but this was kind of a wrong house situation. I have two Great Danes, and I am a Second Amendment person. So I was in bed sleeping. Both of my dogs sleep in bed with me. They're each about 150 to 160 pounds, two adult male Great Danes. And my door has since been fixed, but it used to be really stuck. So it made a really loud sound if you opened it. I'm usually really good about locking my door, locking the deadbolt, all that stuff, but you know, sometimes, depending on the night, if things are really busy, you know, things happen, I forgot. So I heard my door opening in my sleep because it made that really loud creak sound with, you know, the wood of the door pushing against the frame, and my dogs heard it at the same time. So simultaneously, all three of us popped up. And I sleep in my birthday suit because I live alone. And my dogs, as soon as they heard this, I mean, they're super sweet dogs. I mean, they're little lap dogs. I know they're 150 pounds, but they're so sweet, so loving, afraid of everything. But they went into like full feral mode, foaming at the mouth, barking, growling, you know, jumping off the bed. I'm pretty sure one of them came close to breaking my ribs. But they're my babies. So I see them run out. I hear this door opening. So I grab my 380 off my bedside table and my glasses, and I was like, don't you dare hurt my dogs, whoever you are. So I'm running around the corner out of my bedroom towards the door to protect my dogs, just in case. And right as I get around the corner, I see someone peeking in and then slam the door shut right as my dogs hit the door. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I ran up to the door, I peeked out just to see where they are, you know, gun first. And I just saw a head disappearing over the hill. So I don't know if it was a wrong door situation or if they had bad intentions. But that's about it. It kind of scared the crap out of me, and I've been a lot better about locking my door ever since.
Thank you, Taylor. That is frightening indeed. Now, at the outset of her Kinda Murdery story, Taylor said, I don't know if this is Kinda Murdery. Well, I'm going to help you with that. Let's do a Kinda Murdery fact check, a sort of DNA test, if you will, to see if Taylor's story qualifies as Kinda Murdery. Here are the facts. It's late, deep into the night, and a single woman with a loud, broken, unlocked door sleeps in the nude with her two 160-pound male Great Danes. She is otherwise alone. In addition to her canine bodyguards, this woman keeps a .380 ACP, that's an automatic Colt pistol, on her bedside table. Shout out to John Moses Browning, inventor of the ACP cartridge and a near-religious figure among those who fervently exercise their Second Amendment rights. Back to our woman. She's alone. naked, surrounded by over 300 pounds of Great Dane, with a John Moses Browning pistol on her nightstand. It's the wee hours of the morning when she hears the loud shoving creak of her broken door being pushed open. She springs out of bed and grabs a .380. The dogs go wild, barking, howling, frothing at the mouth. While the Danes are worried for their mother, she, of course, is more worried about her canine babies and runs to the door, pushing it open just in time to see a mysterious stranger disappear behind the grassy knoll. Well, Taylor from North Carolina, the results of the DNA test are in, and for all the reasons just enumerated, the answer is yes. Your story is kinda murdery. Thank you for sharing it. And if all of you listening enjoyed Taylor's story, and you've got a kinda murdery story of your own, again, please do call 888-MURDERY, because I'm certain that we'll enjoy your story, too. I do have a couple of observations to make about Taylor's story. Number 1, everyone, please, always lock your doors. The serial killer Richard Chase, dubbed the Vampire of Sacramento and so named because he would harvest and drink his victims' blood, famously revealed that he would try the doors of houses at random, and if the door was locked, he would just leave, taking the locked door as a sign that his presence was not wanted. But if a door was unlocked, well, that was an open invitation to murder. That's right, he selected his victims at random, and the only criteria was an unlocked door, so lock your doors. Of course, kudos to Taylor. 320 pounds of furious dog and an automatic pistol are excellent second and third lines of defense. Number 2, as instructive as Richard Chase may be, his story is for another episode. Today's story is inspired by Taylor, and I know that, as deeply as she loves her Great Danes, this is exactly the opposite of the story that Taylor would want me to tell, because this is a story of a woman who was killed rather than protected by her 2 Great Danes. And for that, Taylor, I do apologize. But I promise you, there's a lot more to it than that. Many questions remain, and it's a heck of a story, so I ask that you forgive me. At 6'4", 200-something pounds, I myself have been likened to a Great Dane more than once. So please, everyone recognize that this story is not indicative of the typical Great Dane temperament. They really are very sweet dogs, and I'm a sweet dog too. So, if you're ready, I suggest that you put your personal items underneath the seat in front of you. Stow your carry-on in the overhead compartment. Let go of the worries of the day. But be sure your seatbelt is fastened. There's turbulence expected ahead. Kinda Murderies. Scooby-Doo, Why Did You? The mysterious mauling of Mary Melissa Matthews starts now. Right at the outset of the story, I'd like to share 2 facts and pose 1 question. In case the title of this story made no sense to you, here's the first fact. Yes, Scooby-Doo, the cartoon crime detective dog that many of us grew up adoring, is a Great Dane. And second fact, an article from animals24-7.org written by Merritt Clifton in November of 2019 entitled The Third Dog, a mystery featuring 2 deaths, 2 Great Danes, 2 pit bulls, and many questions, was particularly helpful in putting together today's episode. As always, all my sources are in the show notes. And here's the question. Can a murder weapon be alive? Let's uncover as much of the truth as we can as we explore Scooby-Doo, Why Did You? The mysterious mauling of Mary Melissa Matthews. Waynesville, Ohio, and Bay City, Michigan. 2 female victims died alone, found by their respective husbands just minutes apart. Both had been mauled to death by dogs. Police set about trying to unravel the many mysteries surrounding the alleged unwitnessed dog attack deaths of Mary Melissa Matthews, formerly Mary Begovich Evans, 49, and Brandy Joy Boshin Odell, 41. Both women's husbands, in Matthews' case her estranged husband, reported finding them dead in their homes. The women's bodies were discovered just minutes, but 321 miles apart, in 2 separate cities directly linked by Interstate 75. Police initially attributed Matthews' death to 2 Great Danes and Evans' death to 2 pit bulls, but an as-yet unidentified third dog appears to have been in the Matthews home, and a Chihuahua was found, along with the pit bulls, in the Odell home. In both cases, this third dog may be a meaningful similarity, as smaller dogs are sometimes tragically used to whip larger dogs into a frenzy. Interstate 75, which connects Waynesville, Ohio to Bay City, Michigan, is among the most heavily traveled routes used by rescuers to transport dogs from U.S. shelters to Canada, turning right at Detroit to make the run to Toronto. But any involvement of either victim in dog rescue, which initially looked likely, may have had little to do with their deaths. Mary Melissa Matthews' remains were discovered in Clear Creek Township, a Waynesville suburb, at about 2:30 p.m. on Friday, November 1st, 2019. Odell's remains were discovered at the West Shore Estates Mobile Home Park at about 2:55 p.m. the same day. Reports of both deaths reached news media the following Monday, November 4th, 2019. The impression that rescue activity may have figured into both Matthews and Odell's deaths was heightened when at 7:45 on the night of November 4th, 2019, that day that news of their murders broke, a horrifying pit bull attack occurred at Positive Warriors Rescue, a 2-year-old shelter in New Carlisle, Ohio, also located along the I-75 corridor. Mayhem, a 2 to 3-year-old pit bull, was put down after he mauled a volunteer and injured 2 other people at Positive Warriors, reported Springfield, Ohio's News Sun staff writer Jenna Lawson. Positive Warriors founder Molly Murray told Lawson that Mayhem was seized from a drug bust and had been a rescue for about 2 weeks. Murray said a teen volunteer was bringing Mayhem inside around 7 p.m. when he started becoming resistant. The volunteer tried to put him in his cage with a slip lead, but then Mayhem bit her. The volunteer called for help, and Kim Hoke, a lead volunteer, came to the teen's rescue. But then Mayhem mauled her. The teen's dad happened to be at the rescue and was able to pull the dog off Hoke and hold him down until the sheriff's office got on the scene, but he was also bitten. Hoke, critically injured, was helicoptered to Miami Valley Hospital, where she endured 3 surgeries, but managed to stand 3 times and sit in a chair for a few minutes. Murray posted a list of 9 safety precautions that Positive Warriors were taking after the mayhem of Mayhem, and 10 further precautions to be introduced. Both lists center on temperament testing, which has failed in at least 38 cases of shelter dogs killing humans since the year 2000. Murray's lists make no mention of keeping fire extinguishers handy. This is the non-lethal response to a dog attack that has by far the best success rate, about 70% compared to 30% or less for all others. Again, the brutal pit bull attack at Positive Warriors occurred the same day that news of the maulings of Mary Matthews and Brandy Odell broke. Luke Matthews, the son of Mary Matthews' estranged husband Mark Dale Matthews from a previous marriage, made the 911 call on behalf of his father. Mary's estranged husband, Mark Dale Matthews, had been in jail from October 30th, 2019 to earlier in that day on November 1st, 2019 after turning himself in on an outstanding warrant for failing to pay child support. He telephoned his son to drive him home, he told police, after Mary Matthews did not answer his calls. Mark's son, Luke Matthews, never mentioned seeing blood at the scene, but he did mention suspicion that Mary Matthews had died from an overdose. Luke Matthews took instructions to do CPR and rescue breathing from the dispatcher before describing the condition of the remains, and even then, his description left much out. There was no mention of blood. But, according to the first responding Clear Creek Township police officer, Wendy Blaha, in her incident report, quoting Officer Blaha here, Dale Matthews and Luke Matthews followed me inside the residence through the garage. The steps in the garage at the base of the door that leads to the residence had blood on them, as did the door frame. The door opens to the laundry room. Inside the laundry room, I noted a significant amount of blood on the washer and the dryer, as well as on the inside of the door and the wall next to the door. I noted blood on the walls leading from the laundry room to the bathroom near the front door of the residence. Lying on the floor was Mary Matthews, partially nude from the waist down. She was wearing a sweatshirt that contained multiple bloodstains. I could see that the lower half of Mary Matthews' body appeared to have numerous cuts or puncture marks, and at least one chunk of flesh appeared to be missing from her upper left ankle area. Mary Matthews was covered in blood. She appeared bloated and not of good color. She was obviously deceased. Searching the house, Blaha and other police officers found sweatpants in the living room, which appeared to be torn or punctured in numerous places and also heavily bloodstained. Both living room couches were bloodstained as well. On the floor in front of the couch was a baseball bat which was heavily bloodstained, as well as a bloody towel lying next to it. And yet Luke Matthews had made no mention of this horror house of blood spatter when he called 911. Also in the living room, as well as throughout the entire residence, were numerous beer cans, sometimes piled high on top of each other in heaps. The kitchen area was strewn with beer cans, wet food and dry food, and other debris, as well as numerous medication bottles. On the floor were more bloody towels and blood. There were 3 dog bowls at the death scene. Outside, on an enclosed deck area, there were 2 large but very thin Great Danes, one black and one brown, Officer Blaha wrote. The deck was littered with dog feces to the point that the actual deck floor could not be seen. Oh, that's awful, those poor dogs. There was blood on the blinds covering the glass door and a small portion of wall in the same area. Just to clarify, of course, poor Mary Matthews, who was mauled by the dogs, but no dog should have to live in those kind of conditions. But let's not get distracted. Returning now to the words of Officer Blaha. Markdale Matthews advised that the black dog is, quote, vicious, unquote, and has reportedly bitten several people, including himself, recounted Blaha. Markdale Matthews had evidence of prior bite marks to his right forearm, and Markdale Matthews advised later that he was always able to fend off the dogs, but if his wife was alone and they attacked, she would not have been able to defend herself because of her small stature. Blaha failed to mention, but police crime scene photography revealed that there were 3 stainless steel dog bowls lined up against a wall, all of them with dried food encrusted on the rims as if from relatively recent use. The cleanest of the bowls might have been used for water, but had a food crust similar to the other 2, with no water in it. A neighbor told police that they've had ongoing disputes with Matthews and a temporary protective order against Mary Matthews. The neighbor's motion camera did not pick up any movement in or out of the Matthews residence after noon on October 30th, 2019. The neighbor was woken up at approximately 3 a.m. on November 1st, 2019 by the dogs barking and whining outside. The neighbor additionally reported that the rented vehicle Mary Matthews had driven home, apparently after driving Mark Dale Matthews to jail, where he checked in at about 10:30 a.m., had never moved from its location. Angela Mass, owner of the Doggy Day Spa in Waynesville, Ohio, identified herself as Mary Matthews' employer and said that she had received a text message from the victim on October 30th, 2019. That text message may have been the last indication that Mary Matthews was alive. Previously, Mary Matthews had told Amy Rainashek of Tyler, Texas, founder and president of Save Rocky the Great Dane Rescue and Rehab, that she worked for PetSmart and was a second-year nursing student. An obituary posted at the Bard Funeral Home in Troy, Ohio, said Mary Matthews had also worked at the Hometown Marketplace store in Waynesville, where several people posting condolences to her family remembered seeing and speaking with her. Chief Coroner Doyle Burke arrived at the scene of Matthews' death, as did 2 of his investigators, for further review of the body, the scene, and other evidence. The preliminary finding from the coroner appears to point to Mary Matthews having been attacked by her dogs. It also appears that she was able to get them outside, but perhaps didn't recognize the extent of her injuries and felt she could handle things on her own. There had been numerous police calls to the Matthews residence in the past, Officer Blaha recalled, and it was well known that both Mark Dale Matthews and Mary Matthews suffered from chronic alcoholism. Remember that and put a pin in it. Mary Matthews' estranged husband, Mark Dale, further reported that Mary would start her day by consuming numerous prescription medicines and would start drinking beer as well. He further advised that Mary Matthews would continue in this daily pattern until passing out. Due to this history, Officer Blaha concluded, it is felt that Mary Matthews may not have been in a clear-minded state and able to judge the severity of her situation and thus failed to call for help. From 2014 to 2016, Mary Matthews, then known as Mary Evans, had bred, raised, and advertised for sale Cane Corso and Pit Bull mixed breed puppies. Pit Bulls and Pit Mixes, including Cane Corso Pit Mixes, had, as of November 1, 2019, killed at least 471 Americans and Canadians in 37 years. Great Danes had killed just 3. But without mentioning the household background with Cane Corsos, Pit Bulls, and their mixes, Mark Dale Matthews made repeated efforts after the fatal attack on his estranged wife to portray the Great Danes found at the scene as uniquely dangerous. For example, Mark Dale Matthews told WHIO-TV that after the dogs fought and Mary Matthews broke up the fights, they would take it out on her unless he protected her. Mark Dale Matthews also claimed in that interview that he and Mary Matthews bought the Great Danes for $25 from a family that he did not name about 2 years earlier, and that one of the Great Danes had bitten him recently. They were both bite risks, he told the Associated Press, and I told my wife I didn't want either of them because I'm not a Great Dane fan anyway, but she wanted to rescue them, so I let her go ahead and get them. However, video footage sent to Save Rocky the Great Dane Rescue and Rehab soon after Mark Dale and Mary Matthews adopted a fawn-colored Great Dane named Bo Jackson casts doubt upon Mark's version of the events. The videos show Mark Dale repeatedly encouraging Bo Jackson to attack a black and white Corgi Husky Sheltie mix named Dexter in the name of play, and Mark roughhousing with Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson showed little interest in any of the rough stuff. The smaller of the Great Danes was more aggressive, Mark Dale Matthews said, and Matthews said he would beat him over the head, him being the dog, with a baseball bat if he got too aggressive. I wouldn't hit him hard, I'd just keep him back, Mark Dale Matthews asserted. Keep him from attacking Mary, and I'd get him outside. But Mark Dale Matthews' stated dog histories do not match the record. Matthews had told WLWT5 television that he'd wanted to get rid of the dogs whom he said they'd rescued 2 years earlier, but Mary Matthews didn't want to get rid of them. She liked to rescue animals that were going to be put down, he told WLWT5. But much that Mark Dale Matthews said about the Great Danes was demonstrably false, beginning with when and how they were obtained. Through Mary Matthews' social media postings, Animals 24/7 was able to identify 7 different dogs in the Matthews household during the 2 years preceding her death. This is the Matthews dog roster. There was Darby, a Cane Corso Pit Bull mix born in 2014, who was apparently the last dog left from Mary Matthews' breeding business. Darby was given to Mary Matthews' son Brandon in 2018 when Mark and Mary began sharing accommodations. Next was Daphne, a black Great Dane who died in 2018, as apparently did Denver, a boxer. Then there was Dexter, the black and white Corgi Husky Sheltie mix who was in the home as of January 2019, shown in photos and mentioned to Renoshek, the owner of the Great Dane Rescue in Texas. But Dexter was last mentioned or shown in a posted photo from April of 2019. Remember that Mary's body was discovered on November 1st of that same year. Mary Matthews received the Great Dane named Bo Jackson from Renoshek's Save Rocky the Great Dane Rescue on January 5th, 2019. Renoshek subsequently shared more than 30 pages of documentation that Matthews submitted to Save Rocky the Great Dane Rescue and Rehab before they released Bo Jackson to her. Mary Matthews also transmitted to Renoshek many photos and video images of Bo Jackson settling into the Matthews home. The photos showed several different parts of the house, with little sign anywhere of the neglect described in the Waynesville police report of Mary Matthews' death scene. The only visible beer cans in any of the photos and video images were on a lampside table beside Mark Dale Matthews, and tipped over beside his foot in a videotaped roughhousing scene. And despite Mark Dale's assertion that his wife would pop pills in the morning and then drink beer all day until she passed out, ultimately, the coroner's toxicology report would find neither alcohol nor any illegal drugs in Mary Matthews' system. And so the plot thickens. About the only thing we know for sure is that Mark Dale Matthews seems to have a loose association with the truth. But as to his motives for repeated prevarication, well, if you'd like to find out more, you'll have to rejoin me this Sunday for Part 2, the thrilling conclusion of Scooby-Doo, Why Did You? The Mysterious Mauling of Mary Melissa Matthews. Now, before I let you go, I'd like to remind you, as I often do, of the free 3-digit Lifeline number, 988. Program it into your phone now. That's 988. It's free, and you can call it anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to receive immediate counseling for substance use, mental health, or suicidal thoughts. So, God forbid, but if you find yourself in a dark place, if you find yourself in an acute crisis, please do call 988 and receive that immediate counseling. Now, if you're not in acute crisis and you'd just like to connect with someone, if you're a disabled person who wants to share the challenges you face in your daily life, or anyone who wants to share their challenges, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. That's kindamurdery@gmail.com, @kindamurdery on all social media, or you can call 888-MURDERY and connect with me via the hotline as well. Remember, I believe that by sharing our stories, we make it clear to each other that people who have very different life experiences than ourselves are still people, and that we can build empathy that way, which is something that the world always needs more of. So please do feel free to connect with me in whatever way you're most comfortable, but I am really hoping, I would love it if you, like Taylor in Durham, North Carolina, would call 888-MURDERY, that's 888-687-3379, or 888-MURDER, the letter Y, and share with us your Kinda Murdery story, and maybe you can inspire an episode of Kinda Murdery. Thank you again to Taylor from Durham, North Carolina. I'm Zevin Odelberg. I'll see you Sunday, and this has been Kinda Murdery.